So I wanted to welcome you all here today. We're really excited to be able to talk about what's new in Active Classroom. We've added a lot of content over the last 3 or 4 months, and I wanted to be able to share some of that with you today. We're going to cover a range of content that's relevant to some of you in some states and not others in other states. We've got some Common Core and some non-Common Core. We've got stuff for U.S. history, world history, global studies, geography, economics. And I just wanted to give you a little taste of what's new. I know that some of you are familiar with the program and have seen it over the years. Many of you are just getting your licenses set up for your districts. So we're really excited to get going with that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a presentation here. I'm going to go live into Active Classroom, walk you through some of the new content that's in there, and then I'll open it up for general questions, and we can see what other types of issues you guys may have or be interested in. So really excited to get going. Let me just switch over to my screen here, and we should be good to go. Okay. Awesome. So, okay, you don't need to see me anymore. I'll take myself away there. I've logged into my account here. And the main place I want to take you, I've got some curriculum maps that I've created for my district. Not every district has applied for curriculum mapping, but in curriculum mapping what we do is we can go through and we can take a scope and sequence. So here's a Texas world history, for example, and we've taken the scope and sequence for, in this case, this is a model curriculum map for that whole district, and gone in here. So in the development of civilizations for religion, we give a little bit of an overview, and we talk about the state standards that it's meeting. And then one of the challenges with Active Classroom has so much content that we've tried to find ways in order to create smaller bundles of content to recommend to teachers. So a teacher could go in here, and here are some activities, 3 activities that we've curated that we think would be really good for a teacher that wants to get in and look at these materials. And you can see we've got a range of different lexile levels here. So we've got something, these are a little bit more on target for the high school world history. And this Power Basics, in this case, is at about a 5th, 6th grade reading level. So it's something that's going to be more accessible for those students that aren't quite reading at grade level. As well, teachers can take these curriculum maps that have been created and edit them. It'll drop them down into, and it looks like it wasn't going to let me do that. Drop them down into their builder. I'll go in and show you another way to get at that. But let's go in and look at the content. What I wanted to show you today is not so much about the curriculum maps, but about the new content that we've added to Active Classroom that we're really excited about. So I'm going to focus in here. I think one really good way, of course, you can always focus by a search. Say we go in here and we want to see, hey, what's available for teaching about the Cold War for U.S. history. We select U.S. history, Cold War, run a search, and it goes into our database and it finds all the different resources that are available there. So one of the new things that we've added is the ability to sort by these different categories. And I like to sort by activity type once I've gone into a specific area. So in this case, I've sorted by activity type. I get my audio files first, then any of the decision-making activities. That leads into historical maps, image analysis activities, PowerPoints, reading, simulations, study skills, and finally video analysis. So we've got 20 results per page. I've got 2 full pages here, almost 3 full pages of results, so almost 60 different activities on the Cold War. And this allows me to be able to pick and choose the different types of resources and different media that I want to combine to create this sort of multimedia activity set. So the way I might do that, I could review, say I knew what I wanted to use, and I'm going to drag and drop this one over here. I want a decision-making activity, I want an atlas activity, and I want an image analysis activity. So I drag them over here, give it a name, and save this as my activity set on the Cold War. Okay, so that functions as it has been, and we can just sort. You can also sort by lexile level, Maybe you're looking specifically for readings that are going to be accessible to different students. So a number of the activities that don't have really reading as the primary area, we don't Lexile those, but as I clicked over here to the second page, you can see we start with these 900 to 950 to 1100 to 1120, and we're going up all the way up to 1300. So we've got a range of different Lexile levels. If you're looking for readings and activities for teaching about the Cold War, we've got that range from the 900s all the way up to the 1300s. So there's something there for students that are reading at grade level, students that are reading above grade level, and for the students that aren't quite reading at grade level. You can find that for them there, and you can create activity sets and group those students together. So this ability to be able to sort by Lexile level or activity type really is a very helpful way for you to be able to focus in on those activities. Now, what I'd like to do is look at some of the new resources that we've added in. And I know that for a couple of you in Virginia and Texas, the applying Common Core is not going to be relevant. Could even get you in a lot of trouble. But these are really, really exciting activities for those of you in Common Core states. And here I do the search on applying Common Core, and we can see that we've got a few different things here that have been put together. So say we want to go into colonial times. Well, as a matter of fact, let me go into Manifest Destiny, and we can log in here. What's really cool is if you'll notice, these follow the basic Common Core standards. So there's sort of 3 or 4 major categories if you include the writing standards. The idea of key ideas and details, craft and structure, and integration of knowledge and ideas. And this is sort of an interesting thing because the key ideas and details is really asking students to analyze the content itself. The craft and structure is asking the students to analyze things about how the author put that information together. And then finally, in their integration of knowledge and ideas, there are questions asked that ask the students to make connections between maybe different types of readings. So those are the 3 major areas, and then you go into also the writing standards where you've got argumentative writing, informative writing, and narrative writing. So this is a really comprehensive set of activities. If you go in and look at even just a single one here, we're going to focus here. How did Davy Crockett die? We've got primary source that students are going to be looking at, and then they're going to be answering these questions. And of course, they answer them. They enter them directly into the database, and the teacher can go to assess that work later. Here's a secondary source for the students to be able to pull information from. And we know that in this first area of Common Core, it's very important for students to do close reading and to pull out things like main ideas and citing evidence to prove a point. So they're going to be going through here and looking at this account of a second source about Davy Crockett, and then the students are asked, is it a primary or secondary source? What questions can be raised about the trustworthiness of this reading? And is the author for or against execution? Cite a line or a phrase to support your answer. And was he executed? Cite a line or a phrase to support this. So really encouraging students to do a close reading. It's a shame that Common Core has become so controversial because I think whether you're in a Common Core state or a non-Common Core state, you can immediately see that what we're doing in this activity is very, very important. We're giving students access to primary and secondary sources, and we're asking them to pull information out of those sources and to be able to cite it. And I think that those are, no matter what state you live in, valuable, valuable skills to be able to go into. So I encourage students to be, I encourage you to be able to go in and take a look at these types of resources. The Applying Common Core, there's been 4 books loaded in so far. I think we've got about another 8 that have been created that they're going to be adding in over the coming months. So something really very worthwhile to look at. Another title that should apply well across the board are the Colonial Williamsburg electronic field trips. I think we've added 16 of these, and Colonial Williamsburg has been known for years as the producers of really first-rate videos and productions and activities. Some of you might be familiar with their comprehensive U.S. history curriculum, The Idea of America. What they're able to do is they have, of course, the setting of Colonial Williamsburg, where they're able to film people in period costume and really make things come alive for students. So if you're doing anything, and I think for the teachers from Woodbridge doing 5th grade U.S. history, really, really ideal here. Here's a Colonial Williamsburg unit on, you can see they've got a number of different things here. Here's one, Women of the Revolution. So this is about women in the American Revolution. And what's nice is once you're familiar with a particular series, those applying Common Core activities, they all take the same form. Whether it's westward expansion or colonial America, you're going to have the 4 different areas that you're working with, and you're going to become familiar with it and know how those activities work. Similarly, with Colonial Williamsburg, every one of them has a teacher's guide, a program script, an brief introduction, a glossary, and then a timeline in order to situate the students and give them an idea of what they're about to view. And then there's 3 acts, 3 videos. They're usually between 5 and 8 minutes each. Let's see how this one is 7 minutes and 25 seconds. And I don't think that you're going to be able to hear the video, but you can see one of the things I like is the way that it involves middle grades to high school level students, includes imagery from the period, people dressed in a period type of costume. Here's live action of period from the period, people from the period. So it's something that can be very engaging for students, and it's designed for students. Here I toggled over to full screen, so this is something that can be done whether your students are working individually on their own devices, or maybe you just want to use this video as a resource to show a whole class. You've got that available to you. Then there are the guiding questions for the students down below. What reasons did women in the scene have for being present in Valley Forge? Why is Emily Geiger's mission so dangerous? What character traits did she need to perform her task? Which of these stories is better confirmed by historical documents? And so some nice questions right there from Act 1. Act 2, another 8-minute video here about Deborah Sampson, a female soldier who dresses as a man and tries to get involved as a man. Very interesting story. Act 3 as well. So short videos, 5 to 8-minute videos with the guiding questions down below. Once again, this is work that students can do on their own, or it can be done as a whole class activity. Now, we try and design active classrooms so it can be used on every device, including iPads. That means that almost all of our activities do not have a Flash component. Flash is a platform that is quickly being phased out, but there were some wonderful Flash-based activities here provided by Colonial Williamsburg, so we have included those in here. If you're in a district that is working with non-iPads, you can take advantage of these very nicely done interactive types of activities where we go in, we can take on different roles. We can, start here. We're creating, I think, a cartoon-like element and taking on different roles and adding them to a panel here. Let's see, do I drag and drop? Oh yeah, we add this to the panel. We can go to this one and add it to the panel and begin to create a story here. So some nice interactivity there. Once again, we apologize that it's not available for those of you that are working with iPads, but a great resource. And all of the activities from Colonial Williamsburg will take that same format. So if we go into No Master Over Me, we can see once again we've got our introduction, that gives us an idea. This is talking about slavery during the colonial times, a glossary, a timeline, and videos. And these are really wonderful. They can work at the level of 5th grade. They also work really nicely in middle school, and there's no reason they can't be used in high school as well. So you've got the 3 acts, the videos, the guiding questions, as well as the activities down below. Okay, another series I wanted to feature for you are close reading activities. We saw a little bit of that. It's called Conquering Close Reading. Now, this is an interesting series. What we did is we took the U.S. history informational text by Joy Haycom, Freedom, A History of Us, and we developed specific reading activities around that. So here's for her chapter for Liberty at All and Liberty for All. And we can go in here, and here we've got Daniel Boone again. And in this activity, you're going to read selections dealing with Daniel Boone and the settlement of Kentucky, analyze the lure of the West for settlers. Each of the questions will require you to use a different strategy while you read. Read the selections as many times as needed to effectively answer your questions. So we're going to use these different strategies: evidence, vocabulary, wrecking the text, where they actually rewrite a passage in their own words. And what we've done is we've taken a short selection. Rather than having the students read an entire chapter by Joy Haycom, we've given them just one paragraph and another sentence here, and then have them dig in and do their work. Citing evidence, wrecking the text, which is summarizing in effect. So we're really helping to develop student analysis skills, and we can see we've got other things here on craft and structure, and then here's a different topic on manifest destiny. So anywhere from 3 to 5 short readings that the students dig in on, but the idea here is once again to do a close reading to pull information out of that text. This is really exemplary for active classroom because our focus is always on developing student skills. We see active classroom as not just a way to deliver content, but really to develop students into good critical thinkers and close readers that can cite evidence and bring that together in a meaningful way. So definitely take a look at the Conquering Close Reading for those of you that are working with U.S. history. Okay, let me change to another subject here. For those of you that are working with geography and global studies, and I know, Kim, we've got you on the line here, and that's going to be important for your group. This is something that's just come online in the past 6 months. It's called Travels with Music. And this is a wonderful series of 30 different sections that are based on different regions. And so we can go in here, let's find global studies and geography. And we can then pick an era theme. Say we want the Middle East we're teaching about. And we'll go back here to Travels with Music. Search. And we've now got Arabic accordion, violin, the Israeli oud, and the Israeli shofar, violin and oud and accordion. So this is a great way to augment regional studies with original videos. The videos feature master musicians from that area, and they might be talking about what it is. Here's a section on the oud, and you have this master musician talking about the resource there. And I'm sure it'll come up any second here. We should be able to go to full screen as well. I'm wondering if this one. And I'll have to check in. We got the Williamsburg videos loaded right up. I'm not sure what the delay is here, but this is something that is really a great way, once again, to augment regional studies with these videos. And you can see in each of these areas we have 30 different units, and each one here has 8 different parts, as well as student questions here to make sure that the students are following along and understanding some of the key ideas that come out of the music. So I hope you guys will take a look at that. I'll double check and make sure all the videos are firing up and working okay. So that's called Travels with Music. And once again, I've gone in here, I've selected a subject area and then a region, and then ultimately a particular topic. And of course, you can do that as well. We also could just leave this blank and focus on the Middle East as a whole. And then you get these fun things like the Hungry Planet videos. You can see you've got a reading here at a 5th, 6th grade reading level for students that aren't quite reading at grade level. And you've got a range of different resources, including the visuals, the what I eat or what people eat in a day. So here this features, I think this one is a rabbi in Jerusalem. Let's go to the image analysis for this one. And here's what he eats in a given day. And we're able to turn on our magnifying glass. And just as with the textual activities that we were looking at, where we asked the students to read a text and to sort of dig in and gather evidence, so too here students can use their magnifier to be able to go in and gather evidence about the image in order to answer the assessment questions here in order to get a better idea about what's going on. So really very exciting, and that's from our series called What I Eat by the noted photographer Peter Menzel. If any of you are going to be traveling to the National Council for Social Studies meeting in New Orleans this November, we're going to be bringing out Peter Menzel and his wife Faith D'Alucio. They're going to be keynote speakers on the Friday talking about their work, Material World, Hungry Planet, What I Eat. It's going to be definitely an exciting opportunity. I hope you guys will be able to make it to that. So that's some general things for geography and global studies. Another series that I'm very fond of, to switch over to world history, these were just added in, decision-making in ancient history, or decision-making in world history, and we've just added a series in ancient history. The decision-making activities are activities where it puts students in the role of people living at the time. You might be a commoner, or you might be a key decision-maker like a prince or a head of state. And here, the way these work, there's level 1 and level 2. Why is that? Well, ancient history is often taught in the middle school level across the country, but it's also taught, of course, at the high school level. So without explicitly saying middle school or high school, the idea is that the level 1 activities would be accessible to middle school students, whereas the level 2 would take it at a sort of a little bit of a higher level. So you can see you've got the same topics here offered at 2 different levels. The year is 433 BCE, and as a citizen of Athens, you must decide if Athens will punish the city of Megara for taking sides earlier this year against Athens in a battle against the city of Corinth. Here is the information about the context of the situation. So these decision-making activities are wonderful activities in order to begin a unit. Maybe students don't know what actually happened in history, and you get them involved and they understand the issues, and then they're able to weigh in. What would they have done? And it's a great way to get them to, here's the arguments in favor, here's a little map to show some of the bigger issues that are involved, and then a decision. What will you do? Be prepared to discuss your reasons and follow your teacher's instructions to continue with the activity. So this is the type of activity that teachers have successfully used maybe to assign to students as homework, that they think about it and come prepared tomorrow to class to tell us about your decisions. So they do some work, they consider the background, they think about it a little bit, and then that leads to a whole class discussion, maybe for the first 10 or 15 minutes of class, and then you lead into maybe using a PowerPoint or a simulation or another type of activity, or maybe we go into analyzing a primary source or a text having to do with similar topics. Decision-making activities are really very popular as a way to begin a unit, get students engaged. One of the things I really like about them as well is that when students read a textbook, it's very easy for it to look as if one moment in history leads naturally to the next, because the narrative sort of goes in that direction. These decision-making units disrupt that impression. It shows that history is really about choices that people made. Sometimes they're choices that leaders make. Sometimes they're choices that individual people make. In our U.S. history series, we have decision-making activities in the Gilded Age. It might be 1888, and you've got to decide, you're a railroad worker, and you've got to decide whether to join a strike or not. So sometimes it's just the average people making decisions that affect the course of history. So we think that it's really important for students to realize that this is how history happens, and also to feel empowered, like maybe the decisions that they make themselves in their lives will have an effect on the future history of the society that they live in. So this is a whole new series. You can see there's quite a few in the world history curriculum. And if you go into the decision making for U.S. history, you'll find that there's over 130 different decision making activities that are involved. So really encourage you to go in here. And one thing I should have shown you is there's the teacher's guide. Here's all the downloadables. So the student handouts, students can do this online, but we know that they don't always have access online. They may not have access at home. They may not have brought their device with them to class or school. You can, with these decision-making activities, there's always a complete PDF here. And so here's the PDF version of the same thing we just looked at that you could print out and give to students so that they can work offline. So we recognize sometimes you want to do a whole class activity. So we use those videos and we project them for the whole class. Sometimes you want to assign things to students to do on their own outside of class. So you've got the flexibility. A decision-making activity could be done on its own digitally, or you can print it out and do it as a handout that you can give out to students. Also, don't ever forget to look at the teacher's guides. The teacher's guides are downloadable. They're only accessible by you in a teacher's account, but they're going to give you ideas on here's the background and introduction, the vocabulary. Here's some ideas for an in-depth lesson, 2 class periods, and here's some short problems with ideas on how students, there's possible answers, here's complex problems, and here's reflecting on decision making. And then look at this one. Go back. A quick motivator lesson. So there was one that you could do in 2 periods. Here's one where you can use the same content to do something in 40 minutes. So make sure to look at the teacher's guide. They're going to give you ideas, and this applies no matter what subject area you're working with, ideas on how to modify the lessons to use online, offline, short, long, gives you the flexibility to really match your needs with the content with what you can do with the class. So very excited about the decision making in ancient history as well. The one last series that I wanted to show you, actually I'm going to show you 2 more. In the area of economics. Economics is something that we've just added in January of this year, and there's a great series called Basic Economic Concepts. And these go over, I think there's about 30 or 40 of these, but say we wanted to do something on supply and demand. We wanted to introduce students to that concept. And so here we go in and we've done a search. Here's the money supply, the law of supply and demand. What I really like about these is they're very short. They give maybe in less than 1,000 words an introduction to this basic idea. So here's the idea of supply. Here's the idea of demand with a demand curve, supply, and no even curve for supply. Determining price then, which obviously is the combination of supply and demand. And then activities. So basically 2 paragraphs to set it up for you with then some multiple choice and more complicated types of questions. Here's a demand schedule and a supply schedule and a downloadable PDF that students will fill in order to chart that idea of supply and demand. So if you're doing anything with economics, a very, very nice, quick way to get into those concepts. And at the same time, we've got a range of other resources that we've added. We've got within economics, we've got a high school economics textbook that's an entire high school economics textbook at a more sophisticated level. We've got videos called Economics at Work that show teenagers dealing with real-world situations like how much money should I save for college? Should I get my job and not go to college because I need to make money now? Or should I go to college because maybe I'll make more money later on? And these are videos that walk students through some of those real-world types of decisions. So a lot of exciting elements there. Okay, the last series that I want to show you before I open it up for discussion is that we recently partnered with Nystrom Education in the past year, and now we have their Atlas of U.S. History and their Atlas of World History has been integrated into Active Classroom. So these are really nice. Here's one on, say, the Civil War begins. And these atlas activities, what I really like is they have consistent categories like time and change, history through maps, or people and cultures and thinking about history. So if we go in here, gathering the facts, let me click on this one for time and change. And we get a really nice visual that comes out of what you would be traditionally a U.S. History Atlas. So you've got great visuals with key elements and points of information, some background information, and then some ongoing assessments to allow students to dig in on these key elements. And we know that these are elements, whether you live in a Common Core or non-Common Core state, the ability for students to be able to gather evidence from a variety of different resources, whether they're text or whether they're maps or graphs or those visual images that we saw with the What I Eat series, that all of these come together and combine for an overall development of the students' visual literacy skills. So I really like the types of questions that we're asking here. Here we can go on to people and cultures, and there's for each one of these different maps that are involved. So there was about, I think, 60 new activities that were added. Let's see here. Yeah, 3 pages of these. So 60 different atlas activities just in the U.S. history area alone. Once again, these scale up from grades 5 through 12. They can be relevant to students at really any level. And a similar number in the Atlas of World History. Great resources covering not just Eurocentric world history, but really things like Africa and China and the East. Here's the ancient India and the spread of Buddhism, and India and the spread of Hinduism, Aztec Empire, really a truly world historical perspective in the atlases of world history and U.S. history. Well, I think that I've spoken enough here. What I'd like to do is I'm going to unmute you guys, and you're welcome to either ask questions via the chat window or to just go ahead and use your mic or your telephone in order to come in, and we should be able to hear you now. So any questions? What do you see? What do you like? What do you still need to know? Okay, I'm going to go back here and address, let's see, Christine had a question about the Atlas. Christine, I wanted to let you know that you've got the Nystrom Atlas will be part of the collection that Woodbridge purchased, and that you'll get a cart with copies of those atlases available as well. And Kim, I like that you appreciated the sorting feature. We've had requests as well for people to be able to actually be able to search by the media type, and we're considering putting that back in. So really great that you guys were able to check in here today. Let me know if I didn't answer any of your questions. Okay, so that's all for today. The sessions are recorded, and the recordings, let me type in the URL here. All of the recordings will be located at our Nystrom, let me just spell it right, education.com/learning. And the URL that I just posted there, that's where you can sign up. We've got future trainings on both Active Classroom and Stratologica that are coming up, as well as the recordings. The recording of this one should be online within about 24 hours. That's our expectation. Let's see, you're saying, okay. And it takes us over. Awesome. So this is the page that it'll take you to. You click on this link for the webinars. And here's the webinars that we've done since the beginning of the year, taking us up to today. And then we can still register for upcoming webinars. So we've got, let's see, what's next week? Getting started with Active Classroom. That'll be more of an introduction into sort of how to sort through activities, combine them together, and create activity sets and assign them to students. And we've got our Getting Started with Stratologica next week as well. I've got a feature coming up on teaching about September 11th on September 1st. That'll give you a good 10 days to prepare. Active Classroom has a lot of content about teaching. We partnered with the September 11th Education Trust, and there's original video in there as well as a range of different activities. So great stuff in there. Then in September, we get into some of the more sophisticated uses, like adding your own content and creating your own quizzes in Active Classroom. Also, the EWW cards, what do you do with it? So a lot of future webinars to look at. By the way, if you missed our webinar earlier this month on zombie-based geography, you just click on the view button and that'll launch a video of that. Really, really worthwhile. I wanted to thank you all for coming out today. I really appreciate it. And sign up for the future webinars, or feel free to email us with your questions. I'll stay on the line for another couple of minutes if you have any additional questions.